Well, greetings, everybody. Good morning. Happy Thursday, or as I like to call it, pre-Friday, Friday Eve, here on the Pondering podcast and radio program. I am your host, Joel Rissinger. It's time to ponder. Of course, we do this every weekday, 8 to 8:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And we do this because we don't want people to check their brains at the door. We want them to think through what they hear in the headlines, etc., or in culture at large. And we want Christians in particular not to check their faith at the door on Sunday. So by being here right now, you are moving in a direction that is positive and wonderful. And I would like to give you a round of applause. And I'm going to do that right now. There you go. So, hey, listen, how do you participate in the show? Well, what you can do is you can type into the live stream here on the Pondering Radio page of Facebook. You can email ponderingradio@gmail.com. You can post, of course, if you're listening via podcast on multiple venues, you can post anytime on the Pondering Radio page of Facebook. Email ponderingradio@gmail.com and make your comments that way. Again, ponderingradio@gmail.com. Or you can call and leave a message for us 24/7 at the Pondering Hotline number, which is 860-500-7163, 860-500-7163. Good morning, Susie, who says good morning to all Ponderers. In a couple of minutes, we're going to be joined with Pastor Al Stewart for part 2 of our interview with him. Specifically, we wanted to ask him about his take on the whole Jerry Falwell Jr. case and what's happening at Liberty University. We'll probably get some input from him on the RNC convention, which I watched most of that last night with my lovely bride, and we were moved to tears on a couple of occasions. It was really just so well done and so powerful and truthful. And again, if people would consider the things that are said and by whom they're said at this convention, I think there's no way that they could choose to vote for Vice President Biden. There's no way. I'm an independent. I'm a conservative, but I'm not part of a party. This is not about party line stuff for me. It's about policy. It's about our country. It's about freedom. It's about truth. It's about Christianity being free to operate, which in socialist, communist environments, it is usually not free to operate. If you doubt that, look at the transition that's occurring in Canada, where the premier has said that Christianity, he believes, is the most dangerous institution or faith. Christians in particular, the most dangerous people, the biggest threat to their country that he's aware of. And that is that's pretty telling, isn't it? So we'll talk about some of that stuff with Pastor Al here in just a moment, as he should be calling in and joining us. And we welcome your comments right here in the live stream, as I've said, as well as through other means. Tomorrow, of course, is Free for All Friday, so be thinking about topics, ideas, scriptures, themes, questions, whatever's on your mind, because tomorrow, you take the helm. Tomorrow, you're in charge. You drive the bus. So we let our folks, our audience, pick the topics, hit me with their best shot, and I have to respond. S'il vous plaît, respondez-vous, whatever. Respondez, s'il vous plaît. Oh, yeah, that's happening. So, Susie, I see you're on. How is the sound and everything today? Are we having any glitches? Are we okay? Let me know. And Al, as I said, Al should be calling in, and we'll go from there. Kind of get his take. Look at that, right on cue. Let's get him on the horn here. Is this the man, the legend, Dr. Al Stewart?
Hey, good morning from the beautiful Blue Ridge Mountains. How you doing today?
Hi, we're doing well. It's a little damp here this morning, and we're supposed to get some more rain and thunderstorms perhaps this afternoon, but hey, we can take it. I like the cooler temperatures, though. It's been so hot for so long. I think we set a record here for the most days above 90 this summer. So looking forward to fall and enjoying the cooling down today and yesterday.
Well, take encouragement in the fact that John Calvin once said, "Not one drop of rain falls without the decree of God."
That's okay. Well, hey, I'll thank him for the rain then. That's all good. Um, so, hey, before we get into the Jerry Falwell Jr. thing, let me ask you: have you been watching the RNC convention?
Well, I was watching a church service. I don't know if that was the RNC.
Yeah, man, I know, right? Yeah.
Well, the other night, I've been running around a little bit. I did get some last night. I did get to hear Vice President Pence speak. But the guy that President pardoned, I mean, if that wasn't a church service,
Yeah.
I don't know what was.
Yeah.
Yeah, you brought up something good at the beginning of the program, and it's this, and I just want to piggyback on it. There has never been a clearer choice
Yeah.
than in this election. And we're not talking about whether the guy is nice or whether we're not talking about that. We're strictly on what has been done,
Right.
and what the track records are.
Yes.
There's never been a clearer choice. And what scares me is I wonder how many, if things don't go well, how many Christians will have contributed to that. That's the scary thing to me, man.
Yeah, it is. And that's why I do this show. We want to get people to think, to be informed, to let their faith drive their decisions. Listen, on abortion alone, if we forget about foreign policy, we forget about economic policy, we forget about everything, we just look at abortion alone. I don't know if you saw the testimony of the woman who was actually the true story behind the movie. What was it?
Yeah, Abby Johnson.
Yeah, Abby Johnson.
Yes.
That was so powerful, so moving. And again, as Christians, listening, reading where God says, while you were in the womb, I knew you. Right before you were formed in the womb, I knew you, and I loved you, and so forth. To think that we could vote for an administration, not just a presidential candidate in Joe Biden, but everyone on his team who wants abortion on demand, even right up to the moment of birth, and then some would even argue they should let the baby die if it survives at that evil attempt. Choose someone who believes, supports, and promotes that as a Christian, to me, is unconscionable. It's not possible. And the president's fight for the right to life. And wasn't one of the sisters, a Catholic nun, who got up and said there's never been a president more pro-life than Donald Trump? I thought that was a powerful statement. So, yeah, that alone, let alone everything else.
And that's why the only defense of people on the other side is to say he sends out mean Twitters, he's been married 3 times. But yeah, all that stuff is true. When I'm voting for the president, I'm voting for a president. I'm not voting for a pastor.
Right, and I'm voting based on policy, not personality, too, right? I mean,
exactly.
People could say, well, he's mean, or he gets it. And even Vice President Pence, I thought it was funny. He says, I've learned so many things working with this man. It certainly has been, he does speak his mind, and he certainly made it interesting. But, he's a fighter. He fights for what he believes in. He won't back down, and that's what we need. And I thought that was a great summary of the personality of Donald Trump and the policies he fights for. Karen says hi, by the way, and she says she's praying for people's eyes to be open to the truth. And Fred says hi, good morning. So we're getting some response here from the peeps. Good morning, everybody.
Wonderful. Amen.
So let's talk about Jerry Jr. in the fall here and the resignation. And, as we also want to extend grace and prayer for him and his family, for healing, for restoration, it is so sad to see another public Christian figure fall, or at least the family falls, and it has, it gives, unfortunately, fodder to those who want to claim we're all hypocrites. That's my concern always.
Yeah, it's when I started to read everything, especially because I think that what probably was the dagger in the whole thing was the Reuters. The Reuters article, it seemed to do the most damage. That's where most of the information is, where all the other stuff that we don't have to talk about was there. But, I was reminded of a friend of mine who, when we came down we were swimming in the pool, and he was telling me about how, and nobody knows who this guy is, so no problem with me saying this. Basically, how a good friend of his, family guy, had gotten hooked on pornography and this and that, and he confessed to me that he really looked down on the guy, could not treat him the same way.
Yeah.
And then he says, Al, you know where I was 8 months later? I said, I don't know, but I tend to think probably in the same place. And he said, yeah. I mean, that could happen to anyone. If a person thinks of something when they're nothing, the scripture says they deceive themselves. And however that happened, I'm sure it was a slow process. That's how the enemy does it, that frog in the pan, whatever.
Yep.
And, these things happen. And the sooner the world gets the message that Christians aren't perfect but forgiven,
right,
the better it's going to be, better it's going to be. But it is sad. It's been, there's a lot of, when your name is Falwell and you live in Lynchburg, you can't win.
Right.
That's number one. You're not going to win. I mean, there are, if you read the news advance here, probably once a week, there's a letter to the editor that's either against the LU up on the mountain, which, some people say that, why don't you put FU up there? I don't mean to be rude, but that's what they say. That's what it is to a lot of people.
Yeah.
They can't win. There's always something. They give $1 million to Lynchburg College, and now, they can't win there. They want to take Jerry Sr.'s name off the library or whatever it was. It's like, there's just so many detractors here. But that's because, the father had such an impact on the city.
Sure.
I'm so impressed. I've been here 12 years. And, he has left such a tremendous imprint. But when that happens, you're always going to have people that are going to give you a hard time. But there's a lot of Christians, like, for instance, I want to address this. He's going to get a $10.5 million buyout. And I want to say something. We're paying athletes hundreds of millions of dollars. When Junior came into Liberty, the facts are that it was like I've talked to people in the inner circle, professors who were there in those early days when Jerry Jr. came in, and it was hand to mouth. In fact, that a lot of people say, Jerry Sr. That he never saw a dollar he didn't like. It's because he never saw a dollar he didn't need.
Yeah.
They were struggling to get by, and Jerry Jr. took that university, and as far as I'm concerned, he deserves every penny that they give him.
It is an amazing transformation. I mean, there's no question.
Absolutely.
By the way, Pastor Jim, good morning and welcome, and Ken, great to have you guys aboard. We're talking with Al Stewart, pastor of Greater Grace Chapel in Forest, Virginia. Also the author of several books, the director of Pool Boy Publishing, longtime friend, and comedian. No, I'm just kidding. I threw that in there. He's always got, you think I have corny dad jokes. You guys,
wait a minute.
you should hear his.
You do know that a guy came to his pastor once and asked him how to minister to Jehovah's Witnesses. He said, the first thing you need to do is when they come to your house, you would put a flag up, and when they come to your house, make them salute the flag, and make sure they put their hand over their heart.
Yeah.
And so the guy put a flag up, and the next day, a woman came, and here she was with a big satchel over her shoulder, this, that. He stopped her immediately and said, hey, listen, I want you to say the Pledge of Allegiance with me. Put your hand over your heart. And she did. He was amazed. It was working. And as soon as they finished, she looked at him befuddled and said, wow, I've been selling Avon door to door for 15 years, and that's the first time anybody ever asked me to salute the flag or do the Pledge of Allegiance.
And so, in case you're scratching your head, Jehovah's Witnesses won't do the pledge. They don't believe in saluting the flag, etc. But it's a good joke. So, hey, we're talking with Al about the happenings in Lynchburg. Forest is right next door to Lynchburg. Al's done a lot of work at the university with students and also teaching occasionally, and just, generally being part of that greater Lynchburg community. I have to say, Al, when I started going down there in 1999, I think it was, it was before that, 97 maybe, to start working on my master's. I was impressed then with what an impact Jerry Falwell Sr. had on the community, and really how Lynchburg had, in essence, grown in large part because of the attention and focus and popularity of the school then. But it was a fraction of what it is now, and I've watched over the years as it's easily doubled in size and scope, probably quadrupled in terms of the offerings of different degree programs, graduate programs, student housing, the distance learning program. It is amazing, and as you say, a lot of that growth happened under Jerry Falwell Jr., his son. You know, I want to say, well, you're absolutely right, and we do, of course, recognize, by the grace of God, there go I. We're all vulnerable, and it's certainly something to keep in mind, and we should be willing to forgive and watch people grow and help people change. For those of you that don't know the story, without getting into all the gory details, there was an affair that occurred with Jerry Falwell Jr.'s wife and a younger man. Apparently went on for years, and when it was apparent it was going to come out, this man was going to share it with the world. The Falwell family decided to get in front of it and share it, and Jerry stepped down. Now, he is getting a settlement and so forth, and as Al said, that's probably appropriate financially, and since the primary offense also probably was more his wife's, although there's some question about his involvement with the whole thing. I want to say that I think while we need to be gracious, forgiving, recognize in humility that we're all vulnerable, it also calls us to remember how important it is to walk with Christ, stay close to Christ, to know our own vulnerability and stay humble so that we can stay pure. Because when one of us suffers, we all suffer. And when one of us falls, in the eyes of the world, sadly, we all fall. And as Al said, the best thing for us to do is to admit that we're not perfect, also to strive live in a way that gives glory to Christ and shows that his way really works. Because when one of us screws up, especially in a public position like this, it unfortunately gives fodder to the enemy. We don't need that.
That's true. The other thing I want to say too about Jerry is I had when I got here 12 years ago, Dawn and I got here, my stepson. I went immediately down to the Vine Center to buy tickets for LU basketball. You're a big basketball fan.
Yep.
Coming from the state of Connecticut, we had won the NCAA in 2007. Funny thing was, I was able to join the Flames Club and buy season tickets for the cost of like 2 UConn games. And so awesome. That was really great. But here's what happened. The lady, knowing I came from Connecticut, just that I'm here to pastor, she said, I want to give you, are you coming to tonight's game? I said, yes. She goes, here, I want you to sit in this seat. It's very strange. And so I got it, and I sat down. I was center court, third or fourth row, and a gentleman sits next to me in a leather jacket, jeans, salt and pepper hair, and we start talking. And we're laughing and this and that, whatever, for at least, like, till halftime. And never asked him who he was. He's asking me. I said, hey, I'm the new pastor. He goes, oh, yeah, I've got a farm out in Good, is a town in between Bedford and where I live in Forest, just outside of Lynchburg, the suburbs. And then all of a sudden, at halftime, Van Halen comes over the speakers. And I thought, I'm at Liberty University. I'm listening to Jump by Van Halen. I lean over to him. I go, man, and Jerry Sr. had just passed away the year before. And that's a big regret I have that I never got to meet him. But I said, boy, Jerry Sr. must be rolling over in his grave laughing. And he looks at me and he goes, yeah, my father probably would be. And I said, who are you? And he said, it was Junior. It was Jerry Jr. And I think he loved the fact
that
I did not know who he was, incognito, whatever. Let me just tell you, he gave me his personal information. And over these this is what it's really sad. This is what I'm going to miss. And I hope I can have with the new president. He gave me his personal info. He asked me not to give it out. I said I won't. In over 12 years, he helped me with everything from forgiving students' debt. In fact, just this past year, we had a student who had a major problem with their schedule. It was going to throw them off. They weren't going to graduate on time, this, that, whatever. I was able to call the right people because of that contact, and they know who I am, and he has helped me with at least a dozen a year, I've had some situation where someone's on academic, possible academic suspension. One kid couldn't go back and he always resolved those situations. So his love for the students, in my opinion, was unsurpassed.
That's awesome. Now, his brother Jonathan is the pastor of the Thomas Road Baptist Church, which meets right on campus there. What's your take on how I know he spoke the other night, I didn't get to listen to it. How's he handling this, and how's the church responding?
Well, here's the exciting part. And Junior has always said, hey, look, I was not called to be a minister. I was not. A lot of people don't realize that either. It doesn't justify what's happened.
Right.
But, he doesn't have a ministry call. He's a businessman. That's what he does, whatever. The excitement now, the buzz, is how much Jonathan is going to be involved. He was not, and again, I don't know why, he was not a real vocal presence around the campus, definitely for the last 7-8 years.
Maybe to give his brother space, maybe possibly.
Yeah. I don't have any insight into that. I've heard some things, I don't know. But I know that I listened to part of his message. It was excellent. He was on with the acting president, Prevo. It was great. And what I'm excited about is Jonathan's involvement.
Yeah.
I think you're going to see it increase. I think it's going to be more. And let me just say this to everyone out there. Now, if there's something going on in Jonathan's life that we don't know about, I don't know. But I'll tell you this. With him, I'd be shocked because that man is the real deal.
He is. I agree with that.
I could say a whole list of stuff about what he does for pastors, and I cannot say enough about that man. Let me just tell you something. When you get near him, I've gotten close to him a couple times, never really from a distance. When you get close to him, there's how do I say this right? You could just see that he was carrying a lot of stuff. That's why I don't know what else to say.
Yeah, he's had that.
There were times where I wanted to put my hand out and say, "Can I pray for you? Are you okay?"
Yeah.
There's a lot on his shoulders, and we need to be. That's the guy we need to be praying. He's on my prayer list.
Yeah.
We need to be lifting him up. He's got a lot of responsibility, and I tend to think he's going to be taking on some more in the near future.
And he probably should, and I think that's good. Jennifer says we need to be praying more for spiritual protection for our pastors and their wives and children. The enemy is truly delighting in this horrible circumstance, and that's true. And I think Jonathan I've felt the same way all the times I've been down there, been around him or in services and meetings with him. He is the real deal. He loves the Lord. He's a shepherd. He's a pastor's pastor. And I think that he's got his dad's passion for the gospel. And so, I think having him more involved is a good thing. And I think we should be praying for protection for him, no doubt.
You have some great, you got Matt Wilmington as executive pastor. His dad was Mr. Bible, who for some strange reason took a liking to me.
I'll have to pray for him. Maybe he'll repent.
His father's, dispensational Calvinistic, and here I am, Wesley Arminian, and he loved me like anybody else. He was just a great guy. You got Dr. Adams, who runs the FLED program, of which I'm a part of. Pastoral leadership, does a great job. So there are great people, down there. And let me just say, when I say Jonathan's the real deal, I want to say this as well. Jerry Jr. obviously had his problems, whatever, and hopefully he's being ministered to and he's helping folks. But I want to say this. He was also, when it came to helping the students, when it came to turning the university around, when it came to so many good things, he also is the real deal.
Yeah, that's a good point. Jennifer continued her thoughts, and my wife agrees here with her. She said her husband's previous church had a fake couple infiltrate the church. They were really reporters looking to expose the sinful church behind closed doors. The media will do anything to put a spotlight on our human mistakes. So true. I've had reporters want to interview me about other pastors, and they start out real innocent, but then they'll say, "Now, do you guys disagree on anything? Is there anything?" Looking for division. And I had one guy go down that path, and I said, "Listen, if you're looking for dirt on this pastor, you're in the wrong place. We've been friends for years. We agree on everything that matters, and I'm going to be a waste of your time. And I'm not gonna fool around with that, right?
Yeah, when I ran do you remember that period for about a year where I actually lost my mind, forgot who I was, and ran for state rep?
Yes, I do.
What caused me to do that? I don't know. What's the paper in Meriden? Is it called the Register?
The Record Journal, Meriden Record Journal.
The Record Journal.
Yeah.
I had a lady call me up and say, "Listen, I'd like to do an interview with you. You're showing double digits here as an independent Republican, which is what I ran as." And I said, "Sure." We went, and she said, "I'd like to buy you breakfast." So I said, "Sure." Lady came over. I ordered a couple things, and she said, "All right. Well, the first thing I need some dirt on your opponent." I said, this is a joke, right? She was serious.
Yeah.
She put a couple dollars on the table and said, "I hope you're hungry because my breakfast is yours. I'll see you later."
Yeah.
I mean, it just, and that was what, 91?
Yeah, it's gotten worse since then.
I call that my lost year. I don't know what I was.
Well,
but I know what I was thinking.
I get it, and there are pastors who've done that, and sometimes God gives that dual calling. But yeah, for most of us, it's a distraction. The frustrating part for a lot of people that I know that are in government is that they find themselves in positions where they have to support things they can't support in order to stay in office. Every bill that gets passed has garbage in it. If you don't vote for it because of the garbage, you're accused of being against whatever good thing was the purpose of the bill. And if you do vote for it, then the people that are opposing you will pull out the garbage and say, he voted for this. So there's a no-win, catch-22. I wouldn't want it. And I got enough on my plate with ministry. So, hey, listen, we're almost out of time. Any other thoughts on the situation with Liberty and the Falwells and anything else before we wrap up here, my friend?
I would just, any of the local friends that are watching, don't add to the pain and suffering of the family. I mean, they're on social media.
Yeah.
Jerry, his wife Becky, and his son, his kids, and in-laws. I just think we really, it needs to be a time of healing. He says that he, wants to get himself together and he's going to do something else, and so hopefully he's going to impact another place like he did here. That's our prayer for him. I don't mind telling everybody this. I personally said to him, "Hey man, if you're looking for somewhere to hang out, you'd be welcome at Greater Graves Chapel." I said, "Come on by." And we'll protect your privacy. I reached out to him and said, "Hey, and I hope other clergy are, and if they aren't, shame on him. Shame on us." So I just pray for the Falwell family, pray for Jerry, his wife, pray for Jonathan and probably new accountability stuff he's going to be doing there, new opportunities, and pray for Liberty University. I think what we're going to see again is champions for Christ.
Yep.
That's what they are. I think there's going to be there'll be a real spiritual renewal that'll take place.
There could be renewal and revival born out of this, absolutely. And you know what? I would imagine you'll be right in the middle of that, and it doesn't surprise me a bit that you've already reached out to him because that's the kind of guy you are. I love you, man. Appreciate you.
Yeah, we still have some time left there. I mean, we still have some time left there, so we want to see God do some things. So,
amen.
Listen, thank you so much. It is always good to come on. I've enjoyed these last 2 days, and I want to encourage everybody. I should have the book out, Wesleyan Arminian Theology Revisited. It should be out within probably 2 to 3 weeks. I think it'll hit Amazon worldwide.
And we will be promoting it here for sure. So be blessed. Hey, listen, folks, thanks for joining us today. We'll be back tomorrow for Free for All Friday. So bring your best shot to hit me with, best topics, ideas, questions, whatever. We love it. In the meantime, stay in the Word, keep praying, keep pondering, and we will see you mañana. Bye for now, everybody.